Welcome to the Candle Business Coach Podcast, a show about the craft of candle making and small business. I'm your host, Kirsty Allen, and I'm a candle maker, mum of three, and kindness advocator. Join me as I dive into all things candles and small business and deliver advice and tips to you in episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Are you on the list to get my daily motivation emails? Every day I'll send you a message that is designed to help keep you focused on taking action toward your goals. Sign up using the link in the show notes. This episode is brought to you by my free ebook, The Candle Business Marketing Kickstarter Kit. Inside this free ebook, you'll learn to identify your blocks of time to dedicate to your candle business. Plus, there are several tips and tricks for re-engaging past customers and attracting new customers into your business so you can grow your business and reach your goals. Check out the link in the show notes for your copy. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. Today I have a very, very special guest that I want to share with you. The beautiful Jess will talk about her journey to becoming a business empowerment coach and what that means and what that can do for you. But I just wanted to preface this episode by saying that sometimes you come across people in life that have such inner power and inner strength and inner knowing, and to be able to have the privilege of talking with Jess today and share that conversation with you. I'm just so excited for our chat. So Jess, do you want to say hello to the listeners and tell us what makes you who you are?
Hello, and thank you for such kind words. Thank you so much. I really appreciate them, and I receive them with a big open heart. So I am Jess Soto-Ramirez, and I am a business empowerment coach. Basically, repeat to me the questions because I went back to the whole, oh, that is so kind. And then I got lost in the...
That's okay. I was curious to hear what makes you who you are.
What makes me who I am? My passion, my determination, my curiosity, it's this need for, or this want in life of creating better, and not just for myself, but for those to come. And I think all those things just really inspire me on the day-to-day, and they empower me. And it's that whole taking back my power to know that I have a choice to create things the way I want. And all of that really helps to shape who I am and how I show up on a day-to-day.
I love that. It's such a beautiful way of like that mindset, that headspace of thinking on a daily basis as well, being able to improve who you are and to be able to give back to others via your passion and via the things that light that fire in your belly, which I know is a saying that you love to use.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fire in my belly, and it's often hard to explain, but it is that thing where it's just like this. Yeah, it's like this tug at the belly. It's like this tug at the heart where it's like, I can create more. I'm capable of this, you know.
Yeah.
And not to say it was always there. It takes time to get to that point. But I just think everybody actually has it. Everybody has that, you know, you've probably heard me talk about it before, but it's like a power ball. It's like I just see like this gold ball that churns in our tummy, but then it's up to us whether we tap into it or not.
That's right. And that can be confronting or scary or overwhelming when we first start to realize how much power and inner power that we have. And knowing that you're worthy of going on that journey is something that not everyone will do, even though everyone has the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a choice at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. So for those that might not know, can you tell us what a business empowerment coach actually is?
I love that you've asked this because it's probably just a term that I've just come up with myself, because it is just, I feel like empowerment, the word empowerment embodies so much, and it embodies us taking back our own power. It embodies us being a better version of ourselves. It embodies sharing that empowerment and taking that empowerment for ourselves. And for me, business is one thing which I absolutely love. I love business. I never thought I was going to love it as much as I do, but I do. But there is I've also come to love and accept and appreciate the fact that I am not just business, and there is so much more to me that I offer and that I share with my clients, and just, with people that come into my space, that I'm not just here to talk to you about business. I want you to empower yourself, and I want you to really tap into those different areas of your life that are going to help you grow as an individual and then as an entrepreneur. So I feel like that embodies more than just a business coach. It is a whole different side of me that I come to the table with that empowers you. So that's why I've gone with, a business empowerment coach. That's what I don't know about other people, but that's what I do. I come and I want to see you really succeed. I want to see you thrive. I want to see you tap into your inner resources to really become your best version.
Yeah, and it's not just about the business side, but also the personal growth and that journey as well. And you can't have one without the other. So if you want your business to grow to astronomical levels, you need to be prepared to put in the personal growth journey as well. And being the business empowerment coach, you can help people along that journey as well, which I love.
100%. And I've come to accept and love the fact that I'm a natural encourager. That's just something that comes really easy to me. And, when we talk about zones of genius and whatnot, for me, I feel so comfortable in that space where if someone comes to me with an idea, I'm like, oh, amazing. How can we make it work? And I naturally just genuinely believe in people. And I think that's something that we don't come across all the time, because often you might share something with someone about, because it's their own insecurities that come and play into it,
Mm-hmm.
So being able to have someone in your space that goes, yes, let's see how we can make this work. Like, let's go down that road. I think it's a gift that I have that I want to be able to share with others.
Yeah, you're like a natural cheerleader for supporting other women.
Yeah, I like to call myself the cheerleader or your hype girl.
Yes, I love that. So I've got a question for you in regards to fear, because I know being a coach that you've got knowledge and advice on how we can overcome different fear. But why do you think our brains are hardwired with fear to begin with?
It's just the way we've been made, right? Like we've been taught throughout life that fear is a bad thing, but fear is actually there to keep us safe. But what happens is when we go to the other extreme, where we think anything that's different and uncomfortable is fear-based and it's horrible, so we don't go there. So it is there fear is there to keep us safe. But the puzzle piece that I feel we've missed is like, okay, but I also get to call the shots here. Fear doesn't just get to take over my life. I also get to call the shots and go, all right, you're just trying to really protect me, and we need to then step into it. So fear is there to keep you safe. If we put it just really simple, that's what it's there for.
And it's about having that awareness that, yes, you can feel the fear, but then still proceed with your goals and your dreams, and know that you're not going to, you're not going to die because you're actually wanting to achieve your goals. I know the brain wants to keep you in your comfort zone and keep you safe, but if you've got a tugging on your heart to do more and be more, then you should push through that fear as best you can and do that inner work to know how to get through and achieve your goals.
That's right. And it's, the whole feel the fear and do it anyway, because essentially there are things that if you really feel fear, you shouldn't go there, right? Because our body's sending us those signals to go, no, like don't, I don't know, like everybody's got different fear levels, right? But then there are these other things that it's like, no, this is fear, but it's actually holding you back rather than helping you grow.
And it's about having the courage to explore which is which.
Yeah. And, you mentioned about that tug at the heart, like that's intuition. So that comes into another space as well. But being able to really realign with yourself and connect with, like, hang on, is this my brain telling me I need to stay safe here? Because it's warning me that this is going to be scary and this is not cool because we haven't done it before. So often when you're stepping into business, that is a very common thing. And it's not just business in general. It could be, you feel fear when you want to contact someone to collaborate with them. You feel fear when you're going to your first market. You feel fear when you're putting your face out on socials for the first time. Like those are very common, regular things. And for many people, that will hold them back. But then we also know that if you go to a market, you're not going to die. Like, that's not, while your brain might be sending you these fear warning signs, you also need to step in and go, hang on a second, I'm not going to die if I go to the market. I'm going to be okay. People know who the face is behind the brand, all those things and what you mentioned before about growing yourself to then grow your business of bettering yourself, because then that helps you in your business. So it goes hand in hand.
It does. So how can we overcome the fear that we feel and take inspired action?
I think everybody has to figure out what's going to work best for them, right? I'm a big believer in doing things in the way that feels right for you. But I know that the way that I've worked through it, I want to be able to share with everybody. So I sort of came up with a bit of a framework of when I've had to work through fear, how have I gotten through it? And what are different ways different things that I've tried and whatnot. So do you want me to walk you through my kind of little framework?
Yeah, I love a good framework.
Super official.
Yes, please share. Thank you.
Okay, so I think first of all, we need to recognize it and call it out. Yeah. So you need to recognize the fact that what I'm feeling in my body is fear, and then being able to name it, right? So just go, this is what it is, and I'm calling it out. Fear, I can see you're sitting there. I can see you're trying to keep me safe, but this is what it is. Because if you just pretend it's not there, then it's impossible to address it. And if you don't address it, then you're stuck in the same space. So just being able to take back your power in that moment and calling it out for what it is and vocalizing it, or just feeling into your body, you're automatically taking back your power. And I'm all about taking back your power. Like that's your first step. Then we go into this space of what people can go into is like this self-judgment of like, oh, I'm so scared. I'm such an idiot. Why do I do this? This is so silly of me. I should just get it over myself and do it and blah, blah, blah. And that, unfortunately, doesn't serve us, right? We will sit in that space, and then that will lead us further down the hole rather than out of the hole. So being able to reframe your thinking is really important in this moment, where you go, okay, fear, I get what you're doing. You're here because you're trying to keep me safe. You're trying to, you're doing your job essentially, right? So rather than hating on your brain or your thoughts, your feelings, because like, oh, how dare you, it's rather you've got to switch that and show gratitude and be thankful for the fact that, hang on, I can see you're trying to do your job, and I appreciate that and I value that because I need this in my life. But then you also need to go, but I'm boss here. So I'm now going to feel into my body, and I'm going to see, is this a real solid fear that I should be listening? Or is this just a fear of that, the discomfort, the fear of judgment, the fear of stepping out of something different, the fear of what are people going to say, the fear of like, what if I fail? What if I succeed? All those are fears, And when we can step in and kind of go, hang on a second, I see you there, but I'm taking back my power and I'm going to go through and make a step.
Yes, I love that. It's so interesting that we can fear that we can be fearful of failure, but on the same or on the flip side, we can feel fear of succeeding as well. Why do you think we feel that we're afraid of success?
I went through this myself and I was so gobsmacked. It was like, why am I fearing succeeding? Isn't that the reason why I've gotten into this in the first place? But for me, and perhaps for everybody, it's going to be different. But in my experience, when I started fearing success, like I used to have I first stepped into business I had a kids, an online business that was kids streetwear. It was called Junior Street. And it came from a real place of love and this passion and desire, right? So I designed kids' clothing, and there was also matching for adults and whatnot. But there was always like these underlying messages of the messages I wanted to share through the clothing. So anyway, I remember getting to a point and thinking like I would I would design it, get it made, receive it, sell it off. And then I found myself thinking things like, what if I sell out? And then I was like, hang on a second, what am I saying? What if I sell out? Isn't that the point? Like, and then I really started tapping into these like surface level thoughts where I started realizing I'm actually fearing success. I'm fearing of what if I get too big? Then in my head, I would connect that with if I get too big, then that must mean that I'm not going to have enough time with my family. That must mean that I'm not going to be, what if I make too much money and I become a horrible person? Money mindset issue, right? What if people start to judge me because I'm really successful? Fear of judgment. And so my initial thought of I'm gonna, what if I sell out was really so deeply entrenched inside of me that my fear of success was, what if that means I change as who I am as a person? And I had to really work through this and understand that I am still me, and business growth is exactly what I want. And I will still make the time and I will still be the present mother that I want to be, because that's my version of success, to be there with my kids. So I feel like for everybody, their fear of success has different roots, if we can put it that way. For me, they were the roots.
Oh, I love that. It's so interesting just talking and thinking about, we have an initial thought, and when we take a step back and analyze it, we can go down and deep so far to find the root cause. And often it can be a factor of worthiness. It can be a factor of, again, the fear of maybe success or maybe failure or being judged. But when we nut down into where those thoughts come from, we just want to know, and we just want to feel like we're worthy and that we're enough, and that the decisions we're making, the life we're living matters and means something. And it does. The path you can take in life, there are literally thousands of paths that you can take in life. If something is tugging on your heart, if something is in your body and soul and is important to you and it's in alignment with your values, then follow that. Trust the butterflies, trust the little nudges that you get from the universe, and see where it takes you, and do the growth along the way.
Yeah. But don't you feel like, this is my personal opinion, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, we don't get taught that throughout life, to listen to those nudges, to listen to those butterflies, to listen to your gut, really. Like, I don't feel like that is something that we speak about enough, and the power that it can have in our life.
Oh, absolutely. It's not something, the sort of subject in school that we're taught about trusting our intuition. It's, I feel like where we are now is very different to, say, 5, 10, 20 years ago. It's becoming more acceptable to talk about it, and it's not as woo-woo, and it's not as taboo. So, and there's so many books out there, and there's podcasts as well that you can learn more about these topics. But having that self-awareness initially is the key to beginning the journey.
Oh, 100%. If like, say, for example, in that moment, if anybody has this, surface level thought, if you're not aware enough to question that, then you will remain at that surface level thought, so it comes back to that self-awareness and really trying to get to know yourself and understand your things that you haven't even realized you've been doing.
Yeah, it's those unconscious biases that we have, where we're just on the treadmill of life and we're just doing the day-to-day and not actually taking a step back and analysing, could our lives be different? Could our ways of thinking be improved? But when you start that journey, as confronting as it is, and it can be really jarring to begin that self-growth journey when you become a business owner, and particularly, well, not particularly with candles, but based on this podcast, we'll go with the candle analogy. Yeah. When you start your candle business, you discover quite quickly it's not just about business, it's about the personal growth as well.
And it's so much more than just the candle, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you can wrap up your whole worthiness with how well a candle batch has performed, because you know that you've done the best, well, we assume that you've done the best that you can do to make that candle. And if there's something wrong with that candle, if it's got a sinkhole, if it's tunneling, if you've used the wrong wicks or the wrong too much fragrance oil, for example, you reflect that back on yourself and think, well, why can't I do this? Am I a failure? I think I'm a failure. Why did I go down this path? I should just quit. And you take yourself on this thought pattern when really it's just a candle, and you can always learn and improve and get better.
100%. But because we're so into, like I totally relate with what you're saying, particularly when I was in junior street, because it was that thing where it was like, oh, if a product didn't work out exactly as I imagined it, or if it didn't sell the same way, or if I don't know, I measured it incorrectly, whatever it was, right? You start to associate your worthiness to that of like, oh, I'm just not good enough. You know, the amount of times, like I remember sitting on the couch, bawling my eyes out, feeling like I'm not good enough for this. I'm not I'm not a designer. I'm not this, I'm not that. And you lose focus when you go down that rabbit hole. And a lot of it does come back to that worthiness, you know, of feeling like, this is all wrapped up in one, and therefore I equal it to I make it mean this, you know. I have this story and I make it mean this, and I don't question it. And that's where that's really dangerous zone to sit in, to not question things, not question your beliefs. And like you said before, it's very jarring to go down that personal growth road. But if you want your business to grow, you need to, because otherwise you're the stop, you're the break, you know, in your business, because you've thought to yourself, like if we connect it all together, you've thought to yourself, I'm not worthy enough. Therefore, why would you show up any differently? Therefore, why would your business grow? Like it just all connects.
It's directly impacted on your beliefs as to how and what actions you do or don't take in your business.
Yeah.
Why do you think so many people give up on their dreams?
It's easier. Like, I think it's easier to just throw the towel in. Like, this entrepreneurial road isn't easy. It's not, as we've seen, it's like a spotlight on all your insecurities. Ta-da, you have all these issues. You know, like it just feels like it's not, you know, I've always known all the issues. Well, perhaps not always, but I know I have issues. But then when I stepped into business, it was like, you really have all these issues, you know, these thoughts and these worries. And so I think often it's just easier to kind of go, it's just not working for me. And I think also, to be honest with you, we go into business with unrealistic expectations. We go into business feeling like we go, oh, right, if it doesn't work within these 12 months, then that's it. I just give up on it. But business takes time to grow. Business has different seasons, and not all seasons are summer and fruitful. So you have to go through those tough times. You have to go through those low points. You have to understand that nothing in life is constantly shining. The sun goes up, but then the sun goes down every single day. Summer rolls around once a year, you know, it's not always summer. So we have to go through autumn. We have to go through winter. We have to go through, what was the other one I'm missing? Spring. We have to go through all of those to get to the next one. So I feel like that's something, and we see so much social media, and we always see this success story and, oh, you know, built my business to 6 figures in 6 months, blah, blah, blah. If you did, fantastic, like power to you. But the majority have a lot more work to do underneath, and it's going to take more time, and it's not going to be a click of the fingers type work. It does take work, you know, and it takes work on a personal sense, and it takes work on learning different things. Like, let's be honest, you step into business, you're like, oh, now I have to figure out, you know, a website. I need to figure out my products. I need to figure out social media. I need to figure out whether I need a coach or not. I need to figure out SEO, you know, like all the technical, all the stuff like starts to, you know, pile up. And unless you're ready to go through that, you know, that road, it's easier to kind of go, hang on, I'm just going to turn around and go back.
Yeah. And particularly if you don't have a supportive network, it can be easier to throw the towel in, like you say, because if you've got people around you that may not necessarily support this new path that you're wanting to take, it can be easier to then fall back in line with that group. So it's important to surround yourself with supportive people that are going to help call you out on your stories that you're telling yourself and help encourage you and motivate you. And that's one of the reasons why having a coach is so important, and why I wanted to have you on the podcast, Jess, because I wanted to just share a bit of light as to another avenue of growth that people can go down, but they don't have to do it alone.
Absolutely. You know, we go to a hairdresser to get our hair done. We don't necessarily cut it ourselves, right? We go to, I don't know, you go to a podiatrist for feet stuff. You go to different places for different things. You go to a doctor, you go to a psychologist. We seek this support, right? Or we seek this help because they are the experts in it and they have expertise or they have knowledge. When it comes to business, there's sometimes I feel like some people have this misconception that if I'm asking for help in my business, it means I'm a failure. And that is so far-fetched from the truth. The difference is that you're finding yourself in a space where all of us, like, and coaches have coaches, you know, I have my coach and I turn to my coach and my coach has her coach. Like it ripples, you know, it keeps going because we all need somebody to keep us accountable, someone that can come in with fresh eyes, somebody that can, you know, call us out and like, hang on a second, why are you fluffing around doing that? Is that actually even making a difference in your business? You know, and when you are in the thick of it, when you are in the mix, it's really hard to see outside of that. So I know for me, certain things you get fixated on and it's like, hang on, then your business coach comes along and goes, well, do you really need to do it that way? What if you tried it this way? How about if we look at it from this angle? How about we try this? It's a different perspective. And often we need that. But we are sometimes telling ourselves that if I'm looking for that, it must mean I'm a failure, I can't do it, or that kind of thing. And quite the opposite. When you have somebody on your side, like you said, that gets it, there's like this sense of relief. It's this feeling of coming home, you know, where people just get it and you can be and, you know, share so passionately what you're sharing and know that that other person understands where you're coming from rather than looking straight through you with blank eyes, that they're not in that space, and that's okay. But we need to find our tribe. And that's what I love about what you do with your community as well. Essentially, they are finding their tribe, your chandlers, you call them, right?
Yes.
They're coming together and they're all passionate about candles and they're all passionate about business and they're all passionate about bettering their lives and creating a life that aligns with them. That's a beautiful space for them to sit in because it's like fertile soil, you know, it just helps them grow from there.
That's right. I love that analogy of deepening the roots and just seeing the growth that can happen when you've got that community around you and you're able to share and be vulnerable, but in a safe and sacred place.
100%. It's so valuable.
When you start your candle business, there are so many things to consider and research along the way, especially when it comes to choosing the right suppliers. Long Story Short provides all your design and printing needs, from your logo and branding to designing and printing your product labels. The quality is exceptional, the customer service is amazing, and prices are very reasonable. They are the only label company I recommend, so check out their website or send them an email today to get started. hello@longstoryshortdesign.com.au.
How can we challenge the mindset hurdles that we face?
I'll harp on about it, but self-awareness, you know, like you have to be aware that you're sitting in that space and that sometimes is easier to ignore, pretend that it's not there. It's harder to address it. So it really comes back to understanding, hang on a second, I'm going down a rabbit hole. Hang on a second, what am I doing? And going back to those 5 steps, which I've only gone through 2, but those steps of initially calling it out. Hang on a second, what is this? Why am I thinking, what if I sell out? Or why am I thinking I'm no good at this? Why am I thinking I'm a failure? Like, you have to get aware with what you're doing. For some people might be journaling. You might journal those thoughts and really think through them and really then create something on the opposite side that you can say for yourself. But we have to become self-aware to then be able to tap into it and call it out. And we're all going to deal with our mindset in a different way. I don't believe it's like this, and that. We have to figure out what's going to work for us. So it's going to be a matter of trying different things. It's going to be a matter of listening to different suggestions and trying in different ways. But one of my biggest things is getting self-aware with yourself and calling yourself out on it and knowing that it's okay to reach out for, you know, hey, I'm struggling with this thought. What do I do about that?
And that's why it's so important to have a supportive network around you, or a tribe or a coach that can really support you through those questions that they're ungoogleable. Google?
Yeah, I love that
Ungoogleable?
word, ungoogable.
You know what I meant.
Makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, even though that word doesn't, but yeah.
The word makes total. I knew exactly what you meant.
But it's true. I mean, as amazing as Google is, it doesn't answer these questions. And it's when you start to cultivate that self-awareness to then go, okay, I want to work on this, but how? How do I do this? Because a broken mind can't fix a broken mind.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we're not broken as such, to have that outside perspective, to be able to come in and show that guidance and almost illuminate the path, as you say,
exactly.
can help
illuminate the
make
path to your potential, because
Yeah.
you have it in you.
That's right. And by doing it with a team or a coach or a tribe around you, it fast tracks where you can go because you're not doing it on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a huge difference in trying to do it yourself versus doing it with the support around you.
Yeah.
It's just a completely different ball game.
Yeah. So I want to circle back to that framework. Should we go through the other steps?
Yeah. So you tell fear who's boss. Brene Brown talks about it. I don't know if you're probably familiar with her. If your listeners aren't, ladies, you need to go have a listen. Brene Brown is incredible. She talks a lot about vulnerability. And anyway, one of the things she speaks about is also fear. And she talks about how fear will sit. Fear is often, imagine yourself in a car, and fear in many people's lives is driving. Yeah, it's in the front seat. It has the keys. It is driving. It is going through. And you're in the back seat, just basically getting taken for a ride. As horrible as that sounds, but that's what you're doing because you're not taking back your power. So when you're telling fear who's boss, is you're stepping in and saying, hang on, fear, you can sit in the back seat and I'm going to grab the keys and I'm going to drive. So that's that kind of analogy of how you start to take your power back and not letting fear take over you in that way. Then step number 3 was you've got to, I call it, you've got to testify. So imagine yourself stepping into a court of law and you walk in and it's you against your fear, okay? You have to show the judge, which in this case is also you, why you can do the things and why you can overcome the fear rather than why you can't, okay? It's a focus on why I can. And this is where you start to, again, going back into yourself, self-awareness is tapping into like, hang on a second, when are those times that I've actually done something really hard and I've gotten through it? When were those times that I was so scared about doing that, but I still did it? When were those times that I challenged myself in that way and I felt so good afterwards? These are the kind of scenarios that we often put at the back of our minds and we're not thinking about them. We need to bring them to the forefront. And that is where you need to step in and you need to testify in that court of law and say, no, hang on a second, this is the proof of why I can do this. Then we have a lot of self-talk, right? So we have a lot of talk, again, going back to I can't do this, I'm not worthy of this. Your self-talk, the conversation you have with yourself is going to be the most powerful one, the most powerful conversation you will ever have with anybody in your life. You are with yourself 24/7. And if you are having the conversation with yourself 24/7 about all the things you can't do and why you can't do them, then that's what you're setting yourself up for. You need to step in and flip it. So I talk about it, you got to flip your script. And that is think about it, put in, get a piece of paper, put 2 columns down, think about the comments that you're saying to yourself and think about the flip, how you can empower yourself more with those comments. So such as, what if people judge me? You might flip it with, I'm doing this for me and I'm worthy of this. It might be, I can't do this. You might flip it with, I can learn this. So I'm not talking about toxic positivity here. I am talking about reframing what you are saying in a way that it's going to align with you. Okay. And then using them, because it's one thing to write them, it's another thing to use them. It's all about the action you then take. So you have to challenge yourself. And again, that comes back to your self-awareness to go, oh, I'm saying that thing again. Hang on a second, I'm going to flip that. Then the last one is you've got to do the damn thing. You've got to take your step. You've got to push yourself in that way. When you know that this is for the greater good, you need to then take that step forward. So do the thing, okay? And then you need to make it a habit, because you do it once, it doesn't mean, oh, I've gone through this and I'm fine, and so therefore next time I feel fear, I'll be fine. No, it's going to keep popping up. This will be a daily thing that you will come up against. And it could be in the most smallest decisions you make, or they could be really big, significant decisions that you're making for your life or your business. But this is where you need to make a habit of it and continue to do these things rather than falling back into your default mode, which is your safe mode, and going back to that, oh, I can't do this. You need to stay in that. And the more you practice it, the better you become at it. And one thing that we often don't do, and it's almost like this bonus, to the 5 steps, we're not taught to celebrate ourselves. Okay. As women, we are not taught to celebrate ourselves. We celebrate everybody else, but how many times are you looking within and going, hey, I'm so proud of myself for doing that? Not often, or we're just dismissing it like, oh, yeah, okay, done. Tick it off the list, quickly move on to the next thing. Okay. These are spaces that get dangerous. So every time you do something, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, when you have challenged yourself in a way, celebrate it. That celebration can be the most simple thing. It could be you get up and, I don't know, you have a dance. You love dancing, get up and have a dance. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm now going to go book myself into a 5-star resort and, enjoy a holiday. Yes, that would be lovely, and spoil yourself with that too. But it's the little things, because it helps us to create momentum, and it actually helps our brain to understand, hey, that was a good thing. We got celebration after that, and it starts to rewire your brain in different ways. So celebrate your wins, okay? Share them with somebody. Be proud of yourself. Go and sit outside in the sun in silence so that you can take in that moment.
Oh, I love that. That's such an important step, is that celebration and the acknowledgement of what you've achieved, no matter how big or small it is. Taking that breath, taking stock, and just appreciating what you've gone through and what you've accomplished is so important.
Otherwise, we're just stuck on to-do lists.
Yeah.
We're just stuck on the next thing, and we don't actually value what we've done and how those small steps have helped us get to where we are now.
Yeah, exactly. So either, as you say, take a moment outside to breathe in the fresh air and sit in the sun and reflect. Write it in your journal, record a voice memo, capture that energy, capture that excitement, so that when you do have that next doubtful moment or that next moment of fear, you can then go back to your journal or go back to that voice memo or go back to that memory of sitting in the sun and go, no, this is actually important to me. I value what I'm doing. I want to continue on this path and push through that fear.
And to add to that, that takes you back to step 3, where you have another thing where you can testify.
Yes.
There's an example of when I did it and I felt so good afterwards. That's how you start to build yourself up.
It helps to increase your self-esteem and self-confidence, not just in business, but in life as well.
Yeah.
So what's something else we can do today to improve our mindset?
I find journaling wonderful, because sometimes there's things going on that we haven't even realized. So I don't like the pressure of journaling of like, oh, I have to do it every day, or I have to answer these questions or whatever. Everybody has their way. For some people, they want some questions and direction. I personally like to journal in a way where it's just like I'm just writing my thoughts, and these thoughts can be completely random. I've got an interesting journal, but then they're also thoughts that help me lead me to my next thoughts. So again, that helps you to build your self-awareness. I think really being mindful of how you speak to yourself is a way to really tap into your mindset, because again, if we're talking rubbish to ourselves, then that's what we continue to create. So think about it. There are ways that you speak to yourself that you would not speak to anybody else. You would not say that to your daughter. You would not say that to your best friend. You would not say that to your mother. But somehow it's okay for you to say it to yourself. And those are the things that create certain, create blocks in us. And so being aware of how you're speaking to yourself is a way to tap into your mindset. Mindset isn't all about like this woo-woo stuff. It's actually, for me, mindset goes hand in hand with power, and it's about taking back your power. and not power in a way where it's perhaps how it's been sold to us in this authoritarian sense and this, strong male domination. Like, it's actually got nothing to do with that. Your power is your ability to do something in a particular way. So you taking back your power to say, okay, today, if I find myself talking like that, I'm going to flip that. That's a perfect way to start working on your mindset. They doesn't have to be huge. It's the smallest of steps that you take every single day that are going to make the biggest difference in your life.
Yes, definitely. And it's in those micro decisions and those small actions that we take that build up the habits that change our perception, and it changes the way that we show up in our business for the long term. As we make those small steps, they get larger and larger.
Absolutely.
As the momentum grows. Yeah.
We're in this for the long game,
Yeah.
This isn't a sprint. This is the long game. We're in here for the marathon.
Mm-hmm. And that's for both our personal growth and our business journey as well.
100%.
What's one lesson your journey has taught you that you think everyone should learn during their life?
To trust my gut.
Yeah.
Yeah, to trust my gut and to listen to those, whatever you call them, whether they're nudges from the universe or, it might be a connection you have to, God or whatever it is, but it's that, those responses in your body that has been a big thing. I've always had a gut feeling, like from when I was young, being, back in high school, I still remember things clearly where I'm like, oh my God, that was my gut. I just didn't understand it, as that was my intuition speaking. And as I've gotten older, I've learned to tune into that a bit more, but also understand what to do with it a bit more, because it can sometimes feel quite strong. But for me, that has been one of the biggest things, to listen to my gut and to really do things the way they feel right for me. Because when you start to mold yourself into somebody else's origami shape, and you do not feel like the lotus flower, for example, and you feel like you are more of I don't know, what's the other things that they make, a dragon or something, then you don't need to be the lotus flower. You need to be the dragon that you feel from within. It's that fire in your belly. And again, that comes back to your intuition of understanding who you are, self-awareness, and coming back to reconnect with yourself, and not creating things in a way just because everybody else does them. It's coming back to yourself. I remember in Junior Street, I had a huge realization of like, I was watching other people and how they do it. So that must mean that's how I have to do it, because I see everybody else is so successful and I'm not, that whole, I did that comparison. And I remember having a thought one day, which again comes back to your gut, of like, what if this is a case of the blind leading the blind? What if they're looking to someone else and they're not actually aligning with themselves, and they're actually, in the same position as me, but yet I'm trying to do things the way they're doing them and it's not fitting right for me? Like, we have to at some point draw a line, because you are the secret sauce to your business and you've got to honor that. You have to honor that and stop trying to mold yourself in a way that does not feel right for you.
Yeah, that's right. It's about treading your own path and doing what feels in alignment with your own values, trusting your intuition and following those nudges and seeing where it takes you, rather than doing what someone else says you should do, or thinking that you should follow someone else's path because they have what you have, when really you need to tap into what you want for your own life and follow your own instincts.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we have to learn to trust that each moment in our life has a process. And while we're in the midst of it, it's very hard to sometimes see that. I remember when I got to the point of making a decision of whether I was going to close Junior Street or I was going to continue with it, it was a real crossroads for me. And one of the things that I had to come to understand, because I was creating this idea that if I close this down, then who am I, right? I started questioning my identity and who I am and what I will do and all of that, which is a very natural process. But I was making it mean something negative about myself. And through journaling, when I just sat and just wrote, I actually came to this beautiful realization that Junior Street actually gave me the wings to then be able to step into the next challenge in my life, to then step into this business. If I hadn't have started off with Junior Street, I probably wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be chatting to you right now. But understanding that each moment has power and it has a purpose, I think is really significant to get through that.
Yeah, that's so powerful, Jess. Thank you for sharing. What gives you motivation to keep going when things get tough?
My kids are a big source for me. My mum is a huge source for me. So I grew up with a single mum most of the time, and life wasn't always easy. I moved around and I went to, just in primary school, as if I was in 5 different primary schools. We lived in department housing. I lived in 3 refuges in primary school. So things were, pretty rough during that time. But I always had the love and I always had the support and I always had this role model. So as much as what my mum was going through at that stage in her life and what we were going through, I always saw her as this pillar of strength, and she is a big source of inspiration for me because she sacrificed and did so much for us as kids, and for me, I just want to give back to her. I want to take care of her. I want her to be able to go on holidays. I want to be able to fund her holidays. Like, I want to do all those things. And I've realized and I've become more honest with myself that my kids are a huge part of my inspiration and the why I do business and what gives me kind of helps me get back on track. But my mum is also a massive, if not a bigger part of that.
Yeah.
So those are probably the things that's my go-to of really building up. Why am I doing this? And because I see what I do so much bigger than, it's so outside of me, if that even makes sense. It's about the ripple effects that I'm creating. When I get feedback from people like, oh my God, Jess, like since our chat, I've been able to do this or do that. Like that inspires the life out of me to kind of go, this is not about me. This is about what everybody else can also gain from this. And then they share it. And it's just that snowball ripple effect that we just keep living. So it's so much more than, oh my God, this tech frustration that I have sitting in front of me right now. There's a bigger vision, there's a bigger goal, and you just have to come back to that sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. And if you can focus on that vision or that goal, when you do have those little hurdles and those little mindset challenges, it can help you smash through those walls because you know that what you're working towards is so much bigger than just yourself.
Yeah, your why has to be bigger than your excuses.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. So we've come to one of my favorite parts of the podcast where I ask my guests 3 questions about candles.
Yes.
So question number 1, what is your favorite candle fragrance?
I like citrusy flavors. So like mandarins, orange, but like with a twist of cinnamon or something through it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Number 2, what do you love about candles?
I love the smell. Like you can just walk into a room and go, oh, that smells so good. And I feel like it just sets a vibe. It's just a beautiful kind of ambiance.
Yes, that's the perfect word for it. And question 3, what is one piece of advice you'd like to give to candle makers during their journey?
Be true to yourself. There's many candle makers out there, but be true to you. Yeah, be true to what you want to do, why you're doing it, and put trust, belief, and love into your dreams because you are worth it.
Definitely. So, Jess, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast. I've loved chatting with you today, and I know that you've shared so many gold nuggets and gems of wisdom and knowledge and those loving kicks up the bum to help people get on with it and get going towards their dreams. So I'm curious, though, where can the listeners learn more about you if they're wanting to connect in with you?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me on. I've loved our chat and just, being able to share with other people so that they can then take the steps in their life is just, that's what it's all about. And yes, I am known for giving loving kicks up the bum. But thank you so much for having me. And thank you for what you do in the world. It's powerful and it's something that is very much needed. So thank you for who you are.
Thank you.
Where people can find me, I hang out mostly on the gram. That's my go-to place. So I'm on my handle is Jess Soto-Ramirez, which is a mouthful, I understand, but it'll be in the show notes. It's JESSOTORAMIREZ. And you can find me over there. That's where I mostly hang out. So come and let me know if you have any feedback, if you have any questions, if you're interested in working with me. I'm, so open to just having a chat and working, building those relationships. It's so important, and just connecting with other humans. So, yeah. And if you are interested in grabbing the resource of, those 5 steps, you can reach out to me, or perhaps that will be in the show notes. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I'll put all the links in the show notes so the listeners can click through. But I also wanted to mention, and I'm sure you'll talk about it as well, Jess, that you have your own podcast.
Thank you for reminding me, because I was going to say it.
Because we've literally just recorded an episode together on your podcast as well.
Yes,
so
yes.
The listeners want to jump over and listen to that episode and the other episodes as well. And I think I mentioned at the start of this podcast that I'm an avid listener of yours. Jess has so much advice and wisdom, and just is that cheerleader that you need just to start your day on the right foot and just to get going and motivate you toward your goals. So definitely listen to her podcast, which is called
Ignite with Jess Soto-Ramirez.
Lovely.
And we, like Kirsty said, we did record an episode. So Kirsty was so raw, real, vulnerable, and open about her story. So if you want to know a bit more about Kirsty, you definitely need to go and listen to that. I like to pull out the juice in people's lives.
Yeah, so we definitely went into some lovely topics and deep dived on a few different areas. So it was lovely to have a chat. So so again, thank you so much for being part of the Candle Business Coach podcast. And I will definitely let you know some feedback from the listeners, because I know that there'll be lots of people saying, this episode was amazing and Jess was incredible.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening today. I hope this episode added value to your candle making journey. Check out the show notes for all the links mentioned throughout today's show, and please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks again for listening. Have a beautiful day.